Working together to make Leon County safer. All in. All in. Woo.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LCSO Podcast. Today's conversation is a special one because it highlights what it truly means to grow, not only through the ranks, but this is a native of Tallahassee, and it's probably someone that you all are familiar with. So joining us today is Chief Bobby Green with the Leon County Sheriff's Office. Just a little bit about Chief Green. He's dedicated over 3 decades to this agency, starting in corrections and working his way through uniform patrol, criminal investigations, and now serving as Chief of Investigations. Did I miss something?
Yeah, you missed a few things in between,
great.
But it's okay.
We can talk about it during the podcast.
Yes.
Great. But obviously he has a very consistent journey in leadership. And for those of you who may have known him throughout his career, he has deep community roots. And so we're going to just dig into that, the mentoring, the coaching, the football, all that great stuff. Sounds good? Sounds
great. It's your show, your podcast. I'm just here.
All right. Well, let's just start with you. Who are you? Tell the people who you are.
I'm a servant of people. I think this has been a calling, not even a calling, but something that I was kind of pushed to at an age, and it has stuck. I found a way to positively affect people's lives on a daily basis, and I learned to enjoy it. You know, people always ask, I never brag about how many people I've arrested, how many cases I've done. I've always harped on the interactions with people and the positive things in the community. When people see me out, I never have to, shy away from them. I can see them face on and they'll speak to me. They come talk to me, ask for advice. Hey, let me tell you about this. Or my favorite one is, I ain't seen you in a while. And that one's what makes me feel even better, because I haven't seen them since either they've been maybe I worked at the jail or during an investigation or something like that. So that's probably the most positive thing I get out of interacting with people in the community when they say, and they call me by my last name and they say, Green, I ain't seen you. I ain't been out in a while. I ain't seen you. I say, yep, you're actually right. So I mean, you're doing good. So that's always reassuring to me when I see people in the community and they say that to me.
I like that. So Chief Green, the servant.
The servant,
yes. Servant. Now, you are a native of Tallahassee. Talk about your experience growing up.
Grew up here in Tallahassee, attended the Amos P. Godby High School, played football. Back then, Godby's culture and that demographic makeup was a lot different than it is now. Of course, the course of years with more schools, that demographic, it used to be probably 60-40, maybe 70-30 white to black, but now that ratio is now 90-10, throughout the course of, school zoning and zip coding and stuff like that. So I grew up there. I played football. I walked to practice from my grandmother's house, was up the street or Indiana Street or around the corner. I remember those days of 2-a-days and just walking through now, which is Crunch Fitness and apartment complexes where it was just woods back there. When we walked to school, we had a little path all the way from up around, Basin Street and down through the path. So, grew up in the community, knowing people.
What position did you play?
I played defensive back. Well, different. I don't know if you know Javonni, but we ran a different defense back then. It was older. It was back in the days, 80s. So we ran like a 4-4, more like a defensive back, a strong safety, kind of a nickel back type position in high school. Very, very, very proud of my roots from Godby. 2-time state championship, defensive player of the year. I end up, getting a scholarship. And I tell kids it's not as easy as they think. And now there's more colleges. There's FIUs, FAUs. You got, the schools that were not even thought about. Now they're around that, there's more opportunities. But then there's it's more difficult because of the challenges to get in, the strict requirements to get into college. So I tell them it's not, don't take it for granted to get into college. So that's always a good sticker I like to give to them. Everybody's not going to make it, but if you put your heart to it, you can make it. So, yes.
So how did your upbringing shape where you are today?
I don't know. I got a lot of beatings as a kid, I guess. I got whoopings. Back then, the kids don't know what whoopings are. I got whoopings as a kid. So, discipline at an early age, having a sign of authority, knowing what authority meant, knowing authoritative people, parents, my coaches, I respected them. I remember one time in practice, I was a senior. I think it might have been the junior year. And we were praying. We did the Lord's Prayer after practice, and I was not paying attention. And one of my coaches called me out, and he got into me and, don't disrespect the Lord. When you're doing the prayer, you need to be head down. And those type of things instilled in me to the day. So, I always respected, parents, teachers, principals, coaches, anybody in adult figures. So I try to instill that in when I'm coaching and coming in contact with kids. And we don't have that much in the community these days. But that was my upbringing. Made to go to church. Saying no chewing gum in church. Yeah. Sitting there paying attention. Your mom make you go to Easter plays and saying your Easter speeches and your Christmas plays. So I grew up with that type of structure, and I think that helped develop me and make me the person I am today. In that aspect.
Right. So adjusting to the culture of like law enforcement when it comes to the discipline and a community focus, those things, it wasn't a hard adjustment. No. But what did you think that you would end up in law enforcement? Yeah, but not this side. No. I mean, I really didn't know. I wasn't a bad kid. I was a honor roll student, art society, graduated, great grades. I think I fell off after high school a little bit, got into college and got, a little spoiled. But no, I didn't get in trouble, but I am a very personable person. So I make a lot of friends. So I had friends that were from the Tallahassee area that was not engaged in the proper things. And I didn't hang them because I thought it was cool. I just was friends with them and they liked being around me. I was a football player and I was cool and this and that. So coming up through those 18, 19, 20 years old, I had some problems. Coming back to Tallahassee, I got in trouble, and I have no problem, no qualms about admitting it. When I first got hired at the sheriff's office, I had gotten some trouble. It was nothing that I ain't gonna say I did or didn't do, but I had some trouble I had to deal with. I had to make some choices. So being, this was a good way. When I first got in law enforcement in '94, I think my mom suggested that, hey, you can try corrections, Leon County Sheriff's Office, and you can try working corrections. And she had some friends that knew, and so I had my degree was in criminal justice. So I paid my way through corrections, worked, went to day school and worked on the nights and weekends to try to, compensate my bills while I paid my way. And I got luckily the sheriff's office saw something in me in 1994, brought me on, and I've been here ever since. Nice. And so one of your first areas once you joined the Leon County Sheriff's Office was corrections.
Yes.
How's that? What areas did you work? How long did you stay inside corrections?
Stay too long. But no, I was there almost 7 years. I started off in housing, and I tell people now the stories. I worked about
late 90s, early 2000s.
94 to 96 and a half, something right there, when I first started. When I first got at the detention center, which was a jail then, of course, Sheriff's Called Detention Center, it had just been opened about a year. Still new, still smelled good, still kind of get accommodated. And I worked in the pause, and they had, 60 inmates. And as I was working, like my first year until they started bringing in more beds. So it ended up being 90-something inmates. So I looked at that aspect and I said, I'm very challenging myself. So I said, I can't do this for 30 years working the pod. So, and to get promoted then at the detention center was difficult, especially my race and stuff. And not just the challenges of people the exit wasn't as much as it is now. So I moved around. I left housing. I went to central control. I worked there for 2 years just to learn so that I knew how to operate. And then I went to booking. And working in booking and releasing, I did that for a couple of years. Learned how to, navigate through that because I never want to be limited. They always say minorities are limited in what they do and their learning capacity. So I always absorbed everything. I talked to people and got advice. Never told them. I let nobody tell me you can't do this. Like central control. Believe it or not, I know you've been on the detention center, but there's a lot of doors. You have to open up doors all around. And I used to always have a competition with the person working with me that we never had anybody waiting at the door for more than like 10 seconds. Right. And it's like we have the doors open as you're walking through, kind of a courtesy, kind of a, it was a competition to show proficiency and show how well you do your job. But then I just got to the point where I needed a challenge, and it was not challenging anymore. So I had to challenge myself. So talking to officers coming inside of the Sally Port, I talked to one TPD officer, short for TPD. I just asked her how was it, and she, we had a conversation, and I decided to put in the transfer to patrol. And I didn't get selected the first or second time, and once again, people were telling me you're not gonna make it. And I said, well, I differ. People say people from the detention center didn't make it on patrol, whether they didn't have, and this was a common thing. That you're not smart enough, or you don't have the abilities to do, you can't catch on, this and that. I'm like, well, I disagree. Fast forward 2 years later, here I am, running an investigative unit. So I tell people now as I'm coming up, don't let anybody deter you. No obstacles to tell people that you can't do. So, I enjoyed. I think that, that time in detention center helped me to deal with people, to talk to people. I never, was afraid to go to work, afraid something will happen to me. You have God on your side anyways. But at some point, you have to, really, rely on other resources. Your interpersonal skills of talking to people, knowing how to communicate with people is the big thing that people lack.
Yeah, and then, you mentioned just some of the hurdles that you had to go through, just even over the process of several years, especially like what you said, the late 90s, going into the early 2000s. Law enforcement as a whole across, I would say, most of the United States, and obviously not in all states. I can't speak on everybody's agency, but the all-inclusiveness that is now like the mantra and the tone of the sheriff's office, how has that shaped the overall policing of the Leon County Sheriff's Office, in your opinion?
Well, we're talking about the lack of representation from certain races. That was a big hurdle and big change. The demographic makeup of the sheriff's office. When I first came in, I talk about patrol. So that was a hurdle. That was something dealing with that. You look at a town in Tallahassee that has FAM, UFSU, TCC, College Town. You have a wide variety of demographics. So coming up during that time was different. Even in the late 2000s, it was difficult. I can tell a story just dealing with people in Tallahassee when I got on patrol, just dealing with people's mentality and how they're thinking, trying to reshape people from thinking, don't see this as, a color thing, thinking as, a level of respect thing. And that got me through a lot of situations. So, yeah, I don't know, it has changed over the years, the people's perception, ideals of people that look like myself and look like others like me. The respect level has changed a lot, as you see. Our level of authority around here has changed. But throughout the years, I've always made it my main focus to try to give somebody something that I've got coming up. Whether it's about education further in there, whether it's about training, whether it's about retirement, giving somebody something that was given to me as I come up. So the next group of people that come behind me will be able to feed that to someone else. So that's very huge. And my aspect, if you don't leave anything with somebody, then what have you done? What impact have you made on anybody besides being selfish for yourself? So I like to give back. So that's the biggest thing I see the culture around here is that a lot of people talk and communicate, and our sheriff is very high on that, opening up and being, public servants. So yes.
When you hear the term like people wanting to humanize the badge, because for someone who may have known you when you were Bobby in high school, and now you're Chief Green at the Leon County Sheriff's Office, what can you describe as law enforcement that maybe they don't know or that they may not understand?
Wow. It is never changing. It's always changing. It's difficult. You never know what you're gonna get. You can wake up today and even now at my level, I can wake up my morning, my phone might not ring till 10 o'clock. I might wake up and it's ringing at 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock. You never know what you're going to get. It's a challenge. It's difficult. The perception that people think of you as, maybe not now as in back in the 90s and 2000s are perceived as being a sellout or something because you're working for the law and now they're putting my people. No, we're not putting your people in jail. We're putting bad people in jail, locking bad people up. So I think that, that's the biggest thing. I try to get people to realize that this is just a uniform. I am, and I tell stories all the time when things happen in the community on TV. George Floyd, for example, I always get that phone call. What do you think? What do you think? Well, first of all, I haven't seen everything. I don't know everything what happened, so I can't give you an honest opinion or assessment of what I think. But when I get everything and I'm able to evaluate, I give an honest assessment because first of all, before I'm a sheriff deputy, I'm a black male. And I have that. So I have sympathy for anybody that's treated wrong. But then I also have an oath to uphold. And so within my ramification, what I can do, I still want to go home in the day also. So I look at that. I look at that lens two ways all the time, and not necessarily always a black male is being wrong, but any situation, I look at it as the both sides. So I get double for my people. It's like, well, you black, but this and that. But then you're a cop, so it's like, I don't know, but I try to humanize, and that's why I do what I do in the community. Sometimes when people see me outside of this, they see you and recognize, I know you from somewhere. I get that. If I heard that one time, I can get $1 for every time. I know you from somewhere. I'll be rich because it's like, yeah, you probably haven't seen me either way. It's on TV or arrest or something. It's like, then they see you out of uniform. They don't recognize them. But the people that do, I think I credit them more because they recognize me as a person instead as an employee. So they look at the person, not the badge and the uniform and the gun. And so those people really pay attention to details and understand the complexity of So they understand about it. They dig deeper. They don't just see that uniform coming to your house to talk to your mom and your dad about a domestic dispute. They see a human being that has a mom and dad, that has kids, that understand about it. So those type of people you really appreciate when you deal with in the community a lot more.
That's good. And I appreciate you for sharing that on the podcast. So you supervised a lot of different departments, all the way to school resource. And I can see how that has to do with the community and you being heavily involved in narcotics. Yeah. How do you adjust your leadership style across those different environments? Because those seem so very different to me.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I'm the same. I try to be the same, even keel way. Now, granted, over my years, I probably don't yell as much as I used to. Get up. I don't get upset and yell as much as I used to. I try to use a different course of correction because I know when I'm coming up, and I grew up at a time where that was the norm. Yeah. You call somebody in the office, you yell at them, you cuss them out, send them on their way, do better.
And that
doesn't always work. No, this administration, I know the sheriff does not fall under that guideline. So you have to learn to adapt. And my different roles, and anybody that you talk to any person that I've ever supervised, they're going to say I've been the same the whole entire time. I have not changed my approach of how I deal with people because I have to always remember I was that person sitting on the other side of that chair or that desk at one point in my career.
So what do you look for? We just recently had a ceremony of 53 new recruits, now sworn deputies.
Sworn deputies, yes.
What do you look for when you think about that person is a leader? And also, I guess it'd be nice to know, what do you think people saw in you when they realized, he's a leader?
That's the first one. So when I look for is people that are not afraid to step outside the box. Those are, I pass people in the hallways, and this is something I did. Don't look at the insignias on your collar. Don't worry about the brass. Speak. How you doing? How's your day going? I'm so-and-so. Introduce yourself. There used to be this mantra that, you couldn't speak to command staff. They was angry people, and you have to get permission to speak to them. Not me. I didn't never. I mean, if you know, I speak my mind. But I see people asking questions. They come by my office or they see me. They're not afraid to ask, what did you do to get here? What do I need to do? What do I need to be better? Those are the type of people I look and seek after. Now, the ones that work up under me, I can directly observe them. I can their work ethic, their courage to ask questions. They're not afraid to step out, and they always volunteer. And they're very social people. And so that's the way I was coming up. I had an interview, my first interview for criminal investigations. And I tell people this story. It's a funny story, but I tell them the podcast. My first interview, and I was nervous. I was on patrol. I'd only been on patrol for like 2 years. And once again, this is people telling you, you're not going to get it. There was a position for narcotics. And I was like, I think I could do that. I think I could do narcotics, not do it, but I think I could work it. I know the streets. I grew up in the streets. I hung around people. So But I only been on patrol for about 2 years, in 18 months somewhere there, because they say, oh, you need more time. Not Bobby. So I put in anyways. I put my application in, and that was 2004. And I got selected. And I think that the impression that room of people then was chiefs and, well, not chiefs, but majors and captains, lieutenants. They didn't know who I was. And I walked in, and it was an icebreaker because I didn't come in. I wore a clip-on tie on a sweatsuit, and they was like, who is this guy? Yes, it's a true story. And I kept that clip-on tie. So the story was and this is a true story, I was in defensive tactics, which we used to have it here back then when the sheriff's office wasn't as large. We'd have training here. So I didn't have time to take a shower and change. I really wanted it, but I prepared. I studied. So I asked my lieutenant at that time, who I respect, Rob Swearingen. He was my watch commander. He was like,
"Oh, nice.
Well, just explain to him. You had DT. You didn't have enough time to go shower and change, and you came." So I just thought something was funny. I had a green sweatsuit, fleece sweatsuit, like the top of the old school, now the 90s, one with elastic in the bottom. So I came over and I had my tie, and I just said, I'll just clip my tie onto my shirt and walk in. And I walk in the door. Yeah, that's funny. I tell people, and anybody that's interview, they tell you he did it. So I walk in and they look at me like, so at that point, you have an option. Either I'm a miserably fail, and they're going to say he's a dummy, or he impressed the hell out of me. And it was the latter. And I came in, and fast forward, got a call 2 weeks later. I remember I was out with surgery or something on my finger, and I got a call from then Lieutenant Swearingen. Said, well, got good news and bad news. And, oh, what you going to tell me? So I had just got a brand new Crown Vic, and he was like, you got to get that Crown Vic, but you're going to Vice. Excited. I was ecstatic. I was like, okay, here it is. My career from there. And that was like maybe April 2004. And you look back, and I've always bounced back to narcotics. That's always been my my thing, and I enjoyed it, and I'm knowledgeable in it, and I love to have hands on to it. So that's how my career started, with a fleece sweatsuit and a clip-on tie.
Nice.
I would not advise anybody to do that today. I'm just saying.
That is amazing.
No, I would not advise anybody to do that today. So no.
Yeah, it sounds like something that could be like in a movie.
Bobby could get away with it. I mean, I got away with some things. I was one
of those hard determinations. And,
yes,
and they
put
the fast music in the background.
They did. It's like walk in. I was nervous, but that made me not nervous anymore. And it made, people giving it sometimes they're nervous. So that kind of broke the ice. And like I said, I was like, at that point, I knew I had to perform well, because you set that kind of tone where, you put yourself ahead of somebody. So, but yeah, that was that. That started my career, and I got promoted 4.5 years after that.
Out of narcotics.
Out of narcotics. And back then, and since that was not the norm at the sheriff's office. You usually had to go to violent crimes. Everybody go to violent crimes. And I had put in my request to get transferred back then, but this was like in December of 2007. And I was like, okay, I had been in narcotics for like 4.5 years. I was ready. And so I was on the list to be moved, but then I got promoted in June of 2008. And, I've still supervised them in some type of capacity over the years, whether it's been acting lieutenant, watch commander, a captain or something over. And now, of course, I run investigations. So, I look at my path, and everybody's path is different to get to succession. So, everybody's different. No, there's no direct, clear way to succeed. You have to make your own way.
That's good. We're about to start this series in April. And I want to do some did you know? You're going to be my first candidate.
Did you know?
Did you know that in 1993, Chief Bobby Green was here, but look at him now. Now, we don't have to go too far in details, but I think it's always good to allow for people to just see the trajectory of growth, not necessarily, like what you was doing back in the day, but even if you started in corrections and now you're the chief, people just need to see that that you can grow here. Definitely.
And I have a soft spot for anybody that comes from detention, because I know how difficult it is to work it and also to make that transition over. But, there's a lot of people now, that has, followed in the footsteps, you can say, who've been successful. It started a trend, because before it wasn't as I will say.
It is trending.
It's trending more.
Yeah.
More people are being successfully, successful in their lives and coming over there. So when I leave here, I think I'll leave with some type of imprint on somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I just want to go back really quickly to your current role. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? What do you do? Talk to the people about that. Yeah, you manage a lot.
Yeah, a lot of things. I come in contact. I still stay engaged with the community. I have constant contact with attorneys, people in the community, citizens. Right now, my day consists of, I have three captains who run 3 different segments of CIB. You have vice and narcotics, you have violent crimes, and you have property crimes. So each one of those have lieutenants that work up under them, and I kind of oversee the daily of that.
Before you get into what you oversee, but short description for those who may not know what does CIB stand for, what is violent crimes.
Okay, CIB is Criminal Investigations Bureau, and that's the bureau I work up under. Under that bureau, you have VCU and SCU, which is violent crimes and special victim crimes. Violent crimes are homicides, batteries, threatening, aggravated batteries. SVU is like sexual batteries, child cases, stuff like that. So we have that said. We have victim advocates that work up under them, and then you have property crimes, which is crimes. When people steal out your car or steal your hubcaps or take your money out your purse or go into the store and write a bad check. Then you have financial crimes, which is, like defrauding. Like we did the special about we're not the cops, we're, call and you give your money to somebody, you take your credit card and use it. That segment. And we also have victim advocates. We have crime scene. We have property and evidence. And also then, of course, my favorite, vice and narcotics. We have detectives that work those crimes. And under vice, which is being realigned, is special investigations, which is the HEAT unit and ICAC, who deal with child crimes and also human trafficking cases. And that has trended up in the past 3 or 4 years. So I have a lot of different moving parts, but I say this, it is not I have great supervisors, I have great people that lead each unit, and it makes it easy for me to reach out and find information. I stay engaged with each one and try to find what's going on, but I have people that's running those, and whether it's the captain, lieutenant, or the sergeant, they do an awesome job. They make my job, and I commend them all the time. That, you probably sat in some CIB meetings, I tell them all the time, they make my job easier. In this position, you would hate to have to micromanage or always go back behind people, but I don't have to do that. I get involved, I give my input, and I let them do their job, but it makes it a lot easier. So I have about, in that whole unit, maybe 85 people, 75, 80 people, civilian and sworn mixed in. So it's a wide variety of people, and it's everly changing, and it's always going. Whether it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's always going.
Nice. We're just about at 28 minutes. Great conversation. Definitely would love to do a part 2. But in the meantime, let's give people just a nice closing. If you could go back and talk to Deputy Bobby Green in 1994, what would you say to him?
I would say invest in your future sooner, which is retirement. Make sure you have a plan. Don't just wing it. Have a definitive approach of what you're doing. And I was, continue to, nothing changes really. I mean, that younger person, that's probably the biggest thing. I probably waited too late to try to plan for my future, to make this not just a job, but a career. Decide what your career is going to be a lot faster so you can progress a little faster. And I would tell myself back then the same thing I tell people now. Don't sell yourself short. Don't limit yourself in the things you can do, the things you can obtain, because you don't know if you don't try. And people that complain about the problem are not trying to help the problem. They're just a part of the problem if you're not trying to help it. So being an impactful person, influencing on people's lives positively, I think is the biggest thing. That was it. I might say, don't say everything you think. Mm-hmm. Not all the time. Sometimes just don't say it all the time. Sometimes people aren't ready for that realness, and just be careful of your audience you're talking to. Some people aren't ready to hear the real truth, and sometimes you have to dial down. I've been in situations where I spoke my mind, and sometimes it got me in trouble. But I deal with that. But that's what I would tell my young self, those things. Just prepare. Always, be ready for the challenges coming forth you, and don't get so, caught up in everything, the outside influences. Just focus on what your path is. And of course, sometimes don't say something. Just, over the career, that's how I've learned. I don't speak quickly, because I'm very, people that know me, I'm very wit at the tongue. So I'll say something slick and they'll be like, it hurts. But I'm going to say it when I'm mad, and I'm going to say the wrong thing, and it's going to lead to, making the situation worse. So I walk away, and I tell people I work for now, I'll walk away and I'll come back 3 or 4 days later. Let's address this, because if I said it now, that's what I tell myself that way. Don't say it now, wait 3 or 4 days and come back. Because back then I used to just say it and then be like, what? So that's what I have learned. I'll tell my younger self that. Well, that'd be good advice. Kind of give yourself time to think about it before you say something that's going to hurt somebody's feelings.
That's good. Well, this is a great conversation. For those of you who listened, I hope you got that. What I received just about his story as a powerful reminder about leadership. It isn't built overnight. It's a process, experience, consistency, a journey, and commitment to both yourself and your profession, and then even the community, according to Chief Green. Now, what I didn't tell you is at the end, we have something that I like to call a speed round, right? So how the speed round works. I ask you a question, you answer it immediately.
I can't do that. Okay, I'll try. Speed round.
Yep. And so it should be fast if you keep it fast. Basically like your first instinct or your thought. It's going to be law enforcement related, so nothing too tricky, but it's going to be like a this or that type thing. All right. Are you ready?
I guess so.
Okay, here we go. Speed round. Here we go. Patrol or investigations?
Investigations.
Early shift or late nights?
Late nights.
Paperwork or a court testimony?
Court testimony.
Tough assignment, narcotics or patrol?
Tough assignment, patrol.
Toughest assignment.
Toughest assignment, narcotics.
Okay. One word your team would use to describe you?
Funny.
Football field or briefing room?
Football field. All
Blue
day.
or green?
Ooh, that's tough there. My favorite color is green. I'm going to have to go with green today. Green.
Okay. The shiny shoes that y'all wear are boots?
Boots.
Alrighty then. That's it. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the LCSO podcast. And to everyone listening, we will see you next time.
Working together to make Leon County safer.